What is up, everybody? Mr. Curtis here. Welcome to the second part of this first unit. This topic is called the Enlightenment. And when I say enlightenment, I want you to think of a light bulb. So simple. Going off in like a cartoon character's head or something maybe in like a comic book where someone comes up with this great idea that no one's ever thought about before. And it's like, bing. Oh, okay. I got it now. So anytime you hear the word enlightenment, and that's really what this topic is about, I want you to think about this just as like a new idea. And we're really going to break up this enlightenment into two separate videos. So this first one's kind of the overview, and then the second video, we'll get into kind of some more specific people from this movement. So the first kind of thing is this is mainly going to take place in Europe. And it's a belief where, not really a belief, it's just this new idea that comes about where people start questioning what the purpose of government is. So up to this point, and what we talked about in class in the last video, is absolute monarchy is kind of seen as the best form of government. That it is just what's understood as being from the church, and that these leaders have divine right. And people are going to start questioning whether that is actually legitimate, and whether or not controlling your people and having control over all aspects of people's lives is really the best type of government for people and citizens in the country. Two things that this kind of connects back to. One is obviously we're questioning absolute monarchies, which was what we just did. Also, people are going to start using ideas from what is called the scientific revolution. And if you didn't learn about the scientific revolution last year, or you have never learned about it before, it's the belief that people are going to begin to say, why do things happen in nature? So for example, why does the sun come up and down every day? Or why does the apple fall from the tree and go straight to the ground? But instead of saying God made it this way, which is what people did up until the scientific revolution, people are going to start using observation. I'm going to observe what's happening. People are going to start using rational thought and what we call reason, thinking through problems, A plus B equals C, or 2 plus 2 equals 4, to kind of solve this. So for example, one main idea that comes out of the scientific revolution is the heliocentric theory. I put my little graphic right here. Heliocentric is the idea that the Earth revolves around the sun. Up to the point of the scientific revolution, everyone in Europe believed that the Earth was the center of the universe because it says it in the Bible. And since it says it in the Bible, no one questioned it. But now these scientists are going to start saying, well, maybe that's not right. And I got this new invention called the telescope. This guy Copernicus said, let me look through this telescope, and I think I see from observation that the sun is stable and staying in one spot, and the Earth is revolving around it along with all the planets. So this questioning of the church and this questioning of what is true is going to lead people to say, not only should we question science, maybe we should question these absolute monarchs as well, and whether or not what they are doing is the best for us. So we kind of have our original guy, like our founder, our main Enlightenment thinker who kind of sets it all up. And his name is Thomas Hobbes. He's right here. He's really our first Enlightenment thinker. He's from England. He believes that everybody, all of you, each and every person that you know, that you see, that you interact with, deep down in the inner parts of their soul are wicked, selfish, and evil. That they will take advantage of anything they can. And if you know you can get away with something, which some of you might have experience with this, you do things to kind of sneak around or advance your own self as opposed to what's good for everybody. He said that if you believe, and if you buy into this, that all people are selfish, wicked, and evil, if you don't have a government, think about it. If everyone's evil, selfish, and wicked, and there is no government, what happens? And what happens is people are going to go crazy. There's going to be chaos. Imagine no police, no firefighters, no government at all. And how do you think people would suddenly live? Would we be nice to each other, or would people be going crazy? And he said people would be going crazy. And the other thing he says is that with a society, our goal in society is we want order. We don't want chaos. We want order. And if we want order, we need the opposite of no government. And what he thinks is the opposite of no government is the strongest government possible. The government that gets things done. The government that doesn't mess around and debate and discuss things. We need an absolute monarchy. So this first kind of Enlightenment thinker says people are selfish and wicked. Without order, without any kind of government structure, we have chaos. And if we don't want to have chaos, which we definitely don't, no one wants it, therefore we need a strong government, which is absolute monarchy. The guy who takes his ideas a step further is this guy right here named John Locke. And he, although Hobbes is kind of the first Enlightenment thinker. Locke is considered to be the father of the Enlightenment. He thinks that people aren't evil, selfish, and wicked. He said that deep down, we're actually good people, and every single one of you is constantly trying to improve yourself. You don't want to be, for example, unintelligent. Like, you want to learn, and you want to constantly try and get better at what you do. Think about a little kid. If you correct them or put them in timeout for something, they try and, hopefully, unless it's my daughter, they usually try and get better at whatever it is and try not to make that same mistake again. Some people need constant reminders, like my daughter, to not make these same mistakes. And he also says that we do want to improve, but we can't improve by ourselves. You can't put someone in this little room for their whole life and expect them to get better at something. We need to interact with people. We need to talk to people. We need to listen to new ideas. We need to read lots of different things. And according to him, if you're trying to go for this, the best kind of government that promotes the most interaction between people is not absolute monarchy, where a monarch gets to make all the decisions. He thinks the best idea of government is democracy. And a couple ideas that come out of his thoughts and future people. One Enlightenment idea is what's called consent of the governed. The rulers, according to Enlightenment thinkers, don't get their power from God. And imagine if you're an absolute monarch at this time, and someone like John Locke is writing these ideas that you, the monarch, don't get your power from the gods, but instead you get it from the people. You would be outraged. But Locke writes that it is what's called consent of the governed. And to give consent to something, a consent form, or to give consent is to give approval. And that the rulers don't get their power from the gods, they get them from the people. Think about America. In the United States, we vote our officials in. Whether you like the president, whether you like your congressmen and women, they were voted into office. They were given permission to rule by the people. And that flips kind of this divine right of kings on its head in a sense. Second idea is what are called natural laws or laws of nature. And when you hear natural, think about what you are born with. And when I say laws, I don't mean laws that are written down. I mean natural laws in terms of what freedoms does someone who is born in a democratic country, what freedom should they be guaranteed? Locke says that we have 3 of them. And if you've ever taken a U.S. history class, this might sound a little bit familiar because the original founding fathers stole a lot of Locke's ideas. He said that we have the right to 3 natural rights. 1 is life, 2 is liberty, and liberty just means freedoms, and 3 is the right to own property. And that these natural laws or natural rights can never be taken away. And the third thing he says is there is a social contract. Just because we give people liberty doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. The government that is elected into office and is given consent by the people has a deal with the government that sometimes the government needs to limit some freedoms because the goal of a society is to keep, or of a government is to keep order and protect their citizens. So for example, over here you have speed limits, right? You don't have the freedom in this country to drive as fast as you want because if you're driving through a school zone out front of West Hampton Beach Elementary School, and the speed limit's 25 miles per hour, but you're doing 125, and then you get pulled over and you're like, I got freedom to do whatever I want. Locke said I have liberty. False. There's a social contract here. Basically, the government makes laws to protect its citizens. And the question becomes, when can you limit these? How much freedom of speech do you get? But if you break these laws, you end up in jail. And that is part of the social contract. Don't break laws and you don't go to jail. Sometimes we have to give up these rights in order to promote a peaceful society. Last but not least, just as a quick reminder, we're going to go into more of these Enlightenment thinkers and go into some more specifics. This connects back to absolutism. This connects back to other things that we have talked about in Global 1, and we'll kind of move forward from there. So I hope you enjoyed this. As always, as a reminder, you should be taking notes just so you don't have to go back and watch this video every time. Otherwise, you're going to get tired of my voice. With that said, have a good day. Talk to you later.